All right, let's jump right in. We're going to unpack a really powerful way of thinking about how to build incredible brands. And it's all based on Marty Neumeier's amazing book, The Brand Gap. It's really all about closing that distance between your big business strategy and what people actually feel about you. So, right out of the gate, we've got to bust a few myths, and we're going to do this fast. First step, a brand is not a logo. Nope, that's just a symbol, a tiny piece of the puzzle.
And it's not your identity system either. The fancy letterhead, the specific hex codes for your colors. All that stuff is just the packaging, the container. It's not the brand itself.
And finally, this is a big one. A brand is not your product. A product is what you sell, sure, but the brand, well, that's something else entirely, isn't it?
Okay, so if it's not a logo, not an identity, and not a product, then what on earth is a brand? This is the big question. Here it is, this is the heart of it all, and honestly, it's way more human than you might think. A brand is a person's gut feeling. It's intuitive, it's emotional, it doesn't live in a spreadsheet or a marketing plan. It lives inside people's heads and hearts, one person at a time. And that leads us to maybe the most humbling truth in all of branding. You don't own your brand. Your customers do. It is not what you say it is, it's what they say it is. So why is this so hard? Why do so many companies struggle with this? It all comes down to this huge gap, this fundamental disconnect between two totally different ways of thinking. You could almost call it logic versus magic.
Think about it. On one side of the canyon, you've got the strategic thinkers, the left brain crew. They live in spreadsheets. They speak in numbers, logic, and bullet points. And on the other side, you have the creative thinkers, the right brain visionaries. They operate on intuition, emotion, and visuals. The brand gap, that's the giant chasm between them, and most companies never build a bridge.
So, what's the point of building that bridge? Why does it matter so much? The goal is to create something truly special, a charismatic brand. I love that term. It's a brand that people feel deep down has no substitute. You know the ones. For so many people, there's just no alternative to their iPhone, or a pair of Nikes, or that morning cup of Starbucks coffee.
Okay, so how do we actually build this bridge? How do we create one of those charismatic brands? Well, thankfully, there's a blueprint, a roadmap, and it's built on 5 key disciplines. And here they are. These are the 5 pillars that hold up the bridge: differentiate, collaborate, innovate, validate, and cultivate. Get these right, and you're not just selling stuff anymore. You're building something that lasts.
All right, let's dig in. We're going to start with the first 2, because everything flows from here. It all kicks off with being different and realizing you can't possibly do it alone.
To really get why being different is so crucial, just look at how marketing itself has changed. 100 years ago, it was all about features, what it is. Then we got smarter and talked about benefits, what it does. Then came the experience era, what you feel. But today, wow, today is all about identification. The question your brand has to answer for people is, who am I when I'm with you?
So here's a little acid test you can apply to your own brand right now. 3 simple questions. 1, who are you? 2, what do you do? And 3, the knockout punch, why does it matter? If you can't answer all 3 of those with crystal clear, compelling answers, you're not different. You're just noise.
And that brings us to collaboration, because figuring out those answers isn't a solo mission. This quote just nails it. You can't have some lone genius locked in a room building a brand. It's a massive collaborative effort. It takes the strategists and the creatives all working together, laying brick by brick.
Okay, on to the final 3 disciplines. And these are all about putting your ideas into motion. This is where the rubber meets the road. You've got to create new things, you've got to test them, and then you have to grow the brand over the long haul.
Innovation. The mantra here is so simple but so hard to live by. When everyone else zags, you have to zig. You have to be willing to be different, to be unpredictable. Think about the Beatles. What made them legends? They never ever did the same thing twice. That's how you get traction.
And this innovation mindset applies to everything, even the absolute basics, like your company's name. We often rush this part, but a great name is a powerful strategic weapon. Look at this list. It's not just about being clever. It's got to be distinctive, short, appropriate, easy to say, likable, and of course, you have to be able to actually own it. It's a huge checklist, but getting it right is a massive head start.
All right, so you've got your brilliant, innovative idea.
How do you know if it's actually any good? You validate. And I'm not talking about spending $1 million on old-school focus groups. This is about a whole new way of thinking. The old way was a monologue, companies just shouting at their customers. The new way, it has to be a dialogue. You have to bring your audience into the process. And you can start this conversation with some really simple, quick and dirty tests, like the swap test. Take your new design and slap a competitor's logo on it. Does it work? Uh-oh. Or the hand test. Cover up the logo on an ad. Do people still know it's you? That's the sign of a strong voice. And the field test is my favorite. Just get a prototype out there and listen. Really listen. The words your customers use are pure gold. And that brings us to the final discipline, cultivate. See, a brand isn't a thing you build once and then just put on a shelf. It's alive. The old way of thinking was all about control, writing a massive brand book to police the look and feel. But the new way is about influence. You don't manage the appearance, you influence the character. It's about what your brand does, not just what it says. Okay, let's tie this all together. These 5 disciplines, they're not a linear checklist you just run through once. When you get them working in concert, they create this incredible engine for growth. A self-reinforcing loop, a virtuous circle.
Just follow it around the circle. When you truly differentiate, you're forced to collaborate in new ways. That collaboration sparks real innovation. But those new ideas need to be validated by your audience. That feedback from validation shows you how to cultivate the brand's character. And guess what? A well-cultivated brand becomes even more differentiated. See? The wheel turns, and with every single rotation, the brand gets stronger and its value just spirals up.
So here's the thing. This process never ever ends. A great brand is never finished. Even when you're at the top of the mountain, the circle has to keep turning. So that leaves one last question for you to think about. If your brand is killing it right now, if you're the leader in your category, what's your next zig?